Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Once you get recognized, your staff is recognized, in the top five on both sides of the ball, all the hundreds of staffs that are out there in America. It's a great honor.
I was more nervous last year just because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I think last year was more nervous. This year, I'm just honored to have my name back in the conversation and be able to go to New York again and see all the Heisman people.
A good day if you're a Clemson Tiger in terms of gathering individual awards. Deshaun Watson and Brent Venables both recognized today for their achievements on the football field this season. We'll give you details on that. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a Tuesday night. Phil Kornbluth, the Professor Tom Hayes with you tonight. I'm with South people. Rain this morning forced practice indoors, and they went in shorts and helmets. But this afternoon, a full 2-hour workout for both teams outside on the artificial surfaces they have at Myrtle Beach High School. They have artificial surface inside the stadium and an artificial surface playing field. Both were remarkably dry considering all the rain that we had overnight and through about 12 o'clock this afternoon. You wouldn't know it based on the way the artificial surfaces felt over there at Myrtle Beach. So they got in 2 good hours of work. Today we'll hear from the North coach tonight, Jimmy Neal out of Camden High School, veteran coach in our state, having a great time working with his players. One injury to note in practices so far, it is on the north side, and it is a defensive back from Woodruff, Duke Ferguson, defensive back and wide receiver. Looks like he's got a shoulder injury, a separated shoulder. He is out for the on the roster. So more from here in Myrtle Beach coming your way, plus plenty to talk about as we move forward towards the Heisman Trophy announcement on Saturday, the start of practice for USC and Clemson in their bowl games, and Clemson in the national playoffs. And let's don't forget Wofford is still alive in the FCS playoffs and will play at Youngstown State this weekend. What a run for the Terriers, having to first of all defeat Charleston Southern and then go on the road and beat the Citadel. Now they're into round 3 and heading up to a Youngstown State. So plenty to talk about, plus the All-SEC team announced today. And let me give you the list of the Gamecocks named to the All-SEC team. That's it, as in 0. No Gamecocks named to the All-SEC team, Pro. You would think that somebody would have gotten mentioned, picked up somewhere on the All-SEC team.
No, the only player who may have had a chance to do it, he missed too many games. That's Deebo Samuel. He missed too many games early in the season to qualify, because once his production picked up after he got healthy, then that was an all-SEC caliber performer, but he didn't play enough games.
Let me think on the defensive side. Maybe Bryson Allen Williams maybe should have been second-team linebacker. Perhaps. Let's see. Who are the second-team linebackers? Tim Williams of Alabama, Gerard Davis of Florida, Jordan Jones of Kentucky. I don't know. You would seem to me think a team that doubled its wins from last year, got to 6-6, going to a bowl game, might have gotten 1 on there. Second-team place kicker. You think maybe Fry should have made it. Second-team place kicker is Gary Wunderlich from Ole Miss. Anyway, that's just that just tells you more about the job that the coaching staff at South Carolina did, getting to 6 wins, and not a player on their team recognized good enough to make it first or second team All SEC.
But that tells you that the guys played as a team for the most part. Now, if his play hadn't really slacked off toward the end of the year when he had some tough times. King may have been a second team at corner, but his play kind of deteriorated as the season went on. That's why I think Muschamp kept telling him, with your thin frame, you're going to have to hit the weight room during the off season, put some more bulk on so you can maybe play at a different level throughout the course of a season rather than, running out of gas toward the end of the season because you beat up.
Yeah, and that image of King being carried into the end zone by Mike Williams, riding the back of Mike Williams. That's not the image an all league player needs to have out there in the public to be dissected. So, anyway, that just shows you. And part of it too is also the fact that South Carolina was such a very young football team with so many first-year player getting playing time. People don't know them. People don't know them yet. Their names really aren't household names. Maybe that will develop in the years to come as they get better. Whether it's Jake Bentley or Brandon McElwain or the running back or one of those receivers, especially on the offensive side, as they win games and become more productive on offense, you figure that people are going to start knowing them. And when we talk about that, how much better on offense, Pro, should South Carolina be in 2017? I mean, a group that averaged, about 17, 18 points a game, one of the lowest figures in the country. I would expect that they've got to double that next year. They got to average 30-plus points per game with the personnel they have coming back. There should be no excuse for that. They had better make that offensive line better, and they're going to have the skill position players, I think, to do some good things based on what we saw from them this year. But they've got to get better play across the line on the offensive line and better depth this offseason. That should be their number one goal, is to make that offensive line better and develop more depth on that offensive line.
Well, I think also the key is we got to remember that the playbook will be expanded because let's face it, they were feeding some young players pablum this year. And if nobody knows what pablum is, tell them to look it up. If you have a child, you know what pablum is. So their offense won't be as easy for defensive coordinators to break down because of more plays in the playbook. I also think that probably with the offensive line, Phil, and with a wider playbook, we'll see a little bit more misdirection. I think at some points in the season, the offensive line was miscast and asked to just knock people off the ball, and they're not that kind of offensive line. They're a finesse offensive line. Therefore, you have to use influence blocking, a lot of misdirection. We've seen plays, even with the top teams, they break a play open, not so much because their offensive line open up holes. They just influence the defense to move to one side of the field, and they go across the grain. So a bit more.
All right, our phone number, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, @SportsTalkSC is how you can reach us here tonight on Sports Talk. We'll open up the phone lines and look to hear from you. We continue to talk about the Heisman and how Deshaun Watson is going to do. I think you know my feelings on that pretty clearly. And, I mean, Pro, I don't know if I know your feelings on that or not. Do you think Deshaun Watson should win the Heisman on Saturday? Is he your guy?
Well, I think it's going to be tough. I'm looking at votes, and I'm looking in the East. If he takes the Southeast, I think he's got it because I think he's got enough votes around the country. Now, I think Jabril Peppers will get some from the Midwest, but I think Deshaun will hold his own in the Midwest. In the Southwest, let's face it, 2 Oklahoma players are going to split the vote, so he may win there. So he gets a few votes in the West. I think that brings him over the top.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you, is he your guy?
Yes.
That's all I need to know. 800-956-7266. We're back in a moment here on Sports Talk. Welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody, here on a Tuesday night. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, the Professor Tom Hayes. K-Mac is off tonight. Coming up, some comments from Deshaun Watson, also Jimmy Neal, coach of the North team here at the North-South game presented by the South Carolina Electric Cooperatives. This is the Touchstone Energy Bowl, and we're looking forward to a great game on Saturday. Bad weather today, but it's moving out. We're going to have pretty nice conditions for practice tomorrow and Thursday. Friday turns a little chilly. They say the wind's going to pick up. Saturday will be a little chilly, upper 40s, low 50s, but that's excellent football weather. So we invite you to need a reason to come to the beach, but we're inviting you nonetheless to come down and support the game and watch these fellows, and also be on hand as Mr. Football in South Carolina is presented at the halftime of the ball game. And those finalists, again, are Northwestern quarterback Gage Maloney, Broome linebacker DeMarco Jackson, Greer offensive lineman Noah Hannon, Wando receiver Ortre Smith, and North Central running back Cedric Cunningham, who is in the North-South game. That'll be kind of neat. He'll have to come over in his uniform at halftime and sit with the fellas and wait for the announcement. Always an exciting time. You know, some states have multiple Mr. Footballs. Like Tennessee has something like 17 or so, but not in South Carolina. We're small enough, we're tight enough just to have one Mr. Football. And South Carolina Electric Cooperative, the folks that make it all happen for high school football fans here in South Carolina, they want to help you too with, as you know, as it gets colder, the hot water more and the heat more. They want to help you out so that you're not spending extra money by running your utility bill up during peak times. And so, as they say, you can beat the peak and save on your energy bill. Just visit EnergySmartSC.org/beatthepeak, and you'll learn more about that program that you can sign up for from South Carolina Electric Cooperative. All right, very cool. The winner of the Frank Broyles Award, 22nd annual Frank Broyles Award, goes to the top assistant coach in college football each year in honor of Frank Broyles. It is Clemson's defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. He beat out Jeremy Pruitt from Alabama, Jim Lovett of Colorado, Don Brown of Michigan, and Matt Canada of Pittsburgh. You look at that list, they're all defensive coordinators except for Canada. Congratulations to Venables. He's done an outstanding job. Really just a matter of time before he becomes a head football coach somewhere. Venables had been a finalist twice before, last year at Clemson and 2006 at Oklahoma. He's the first Clemson assistant to win the award. Meantime, Deshaun Watson picked up more hardware today. He was named the winner of the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, as presented to the top senior quarterback in college football in honor of Johnny U. And by winning this award, Watson has now achieved the triple crown of quarterback awards over his career. He won the Manning Award and the O'Brien Award last year. He's also a finalist for those two honors this year. And, of course, you know he's had another fantastic season. And the all-SEC football team from the coaches. No Gamecocks on either of the first two teams. I'll just hit a few of the highlights here. The first team quarterback is Jalen Hurts from Alabama. First team running backs are Cameron Petway of Auburn, Darius Geis of LSU. The receivers, Christian Kirk of Texas A&M, are Darius Stewart from Alabama. Evan Ingram of Ole Miss is your tight end. The second team quarterback is Chad Kelly of Ole Miss and Josh Dobbs of Tennessee. You had a tie there. Leonard Fournette, who would have thought going into the season that at the end of the year, Darius Geis from LSU would be the first team running back and Leonard Fournette would be the second team running back. But that's where Fournette is. Of course, injuries hampered his junior year. And, of course, now he's announced that he's entering the NFL draft. Okay, let's here we have 956-7266 to Irv in Charleston. Up first tonight here on Sports Talk. Hi, Irv. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Yeah, doing real good. Yeah.
Yeah, we are too. We are too.
Yeah, you hit me pretty good.
We got you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Now, I was talking about, just want to put my input in on the Heisman finalists. First of all, congrats to all the guys who got selected as finalists. I think all of them are worthy of consideration to win the award. But just my, just my little gripe on it is to feel, why is it the kid from Florida State, Dalvin Cook, why he wasn't the finalist? I thought, 1,600 yards on back-to-back seasons. He pretty much carried that offense for the past 2 years, and I think he's the best running back in the nation. I at least thought he should have given the respect of being invited to the to New York for a ceremony. Just want your take on it and see what you got to say about it.
Well, obviously he didn't receive enough votes. The folks, the percentage of votes that you receive, and but you make a good point. He had a great year. I think that I think he was hurt because of his team's record. I think the only reason Lamar Jackson is there is because his numbers are just so mind-blowing. If his numbers weren't so mind-blowing, individual numbers, with the team's record, he probably would not have been invited, would not have received as many votes as he did. But because his numbers are truly off the charts individually, that's why he's there. Why Cook didn't get more votes, I guess it's because the team just wasn't as successful as it has been in recent years. That'd be my only explanation.
I would also explain is because you have two quarterbacks from the same conference and same region in Jackson and Deshaun Watson, I think that kind of squeezes Cook out, Corn. Both from the ACC, both from the Atlantic Coast, Southeast region, and Darwin Cook is just the third man, or in this case, the odd man out.
All right, sir. Thank you for your phone call. The number 800-956-7266. Let's continue on the phone lines with Jay right here in Myrtle Beach. Hi, Jay. Good to have you with us.
Professor Cornbluth, ostentatious as always. I was calling about, I was there in Death Valley for the dismantling destruction of the Gamecocks. And out here in Orlando for the win over the – and basically, when we talk about the Heisman, everybody wants to talk about Lamar Jackson. Yes, he's a great player, and he did a lot of good things early. But we want to look at more now. We want to look at – people say the negative for Deshaun Watson are his interceptions. But if you look at how many fumbles Lamar Jackson had, coupled with interceptions, then it's really not that much disparity between the two. And then you got to take into account that Jackson is on a team with 3 losses, some of them blowout losses at the end of the season. And Watson has shined later in the season, and he's taken the team to the playoffs and are still in the hunt for a national championship. If this was the NFL and we're looking at the NFL MVP, then Deshaun Watson would be the one that's in the discussion, and Lamar Jackson would not be. So you got to look at it from a lot of different perspectives. So that being said, I think Watson has done more than enough, plus the head-to-head matchup, of course, and winning a conference. I just think that all the things that taken into consideration, he should win and Lamar Jackson not. I don't see how anybody could not vote for him other than just they watched it earlier in the season and they made up their mind because they were starstruck for Jackson.
This is what pushes it over the top for me, because I think the worst enemy for Deshaun Watson was Deshaun Watson himself with that performance against Alabama. But what pushes it over the top for me, Corn, is like you said last night, he's graduating in 3 years. And last time I checked, Heisman, what you do off the field is supposed to have some importance as what you
And welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, from Myrtle Beach and Columbia on this Tuesday night. So glad to have you with us. Our phone number is 800-956-7266. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. We're talking about Deshaun Watson and the Heisman. We'll hear from him coming up in just a couple of moments. And also Jimmy Neal, head coach of the North team here at the North-South game. Talk about Watson and people just being concerned about his interceptions. Well, I did a little research. Winston of Florida State won the Heisman. All right. He threw for 3,907 yards, and he threw 25 touchdown passes. And his completion 4%. At this moment, with 2 games to go possibly, Watson has a higher completion percentage, has thrown for more yards, has thrown for more touchdowns, and has thrown for fewer interceptions. In 2012, Manziel won the Heisman. He threw 13 interceptions, and he threw 37 touchdown passes, and he threw for 4,114 yards, and he completed 69.9%. Now, that's higher than Watson's percentage, but the yardage is about the same. Watson is barely ahead in touchdowns and slightly ahead in interceptions thrown. So 2 examples of Heisman Trophy quarterbacks with double-digit in. But in both cases, they had overwhelming their stat line, and their teams did exceptionally well. So, of course, everybody's going to have their preference, and you can be awed by Lamar Jackson's individual numbers, but you take Watson's numbers and you combine it with his team's success, there should be no one else to vote for. There should be no one else to vote for. He's on the second best team in the country. There's nobody from the best team in the country on the list. They didn't make it. Nobody from Alabama made it. So, you got a quarterback. People keep talking about him. And here's the other problem, too, Pro, when it comes to it with the voters. ESPN loves Lamar Jackson. Loves him. They can't get enough of him. And who do the voters, what channel do the voters watch relentlessly? ESPN. So he gets plenty of hype. Watson has to overcome, the fact that he's in small town South Carolina, and he doesn't quite get, I don't think, like the notoriety that Lamar Jackson has received this year. But for my money, for what he has done, continues to do, and the success of his team, to me, that puts him over the top, and he should be the winner on Saturday night.
Well, he should be. The interesting thing is, if I'm not mistaken, before this weekend's games, I think, 9% of the Heisman voters had already voted. So now you're working from 91%. Those 91% of voters start to lean toward Deshaun Watson, then he gets the trophy. But as I said before, I think you're kind of splitting hairs. I thought ESPN loved Deshaun Watson last year. That's why I'm saying it's the society we have now is the flavor of the month society. It was Deshaun Watson last year, yeah. There's this guy Jackson. And people, let's face it, they go into snapshots. They see Jackson leaping over a player and getting in the end zone and lands on his feet. That sort of thing. It's just like what the Michigan player years ago with the Heisman pose. They just think in snapshots instead of, just crunching the numbers.
All right, 800-956-7266. One note for next week, for those of you who like to go to Shrine Bowl practice up in Spartanburg, the practices will be held at Dorman High School instead of Spartanburg High School. So they're going back to Dorman High School after being at Dorman the last few years. And, I mean, really, that's to me, that's a nice move because Dorman is a lot more convenient location to get to right off the interstate versus having to go into the city and across town to get to Spartan High.
Now, remember,
Let's
it'll
go back
look
to the
like a
phones.
college. Dorman
Yeah.
looks like a college when you exit off, but that is the high school.
Wow, what a facility that they have there. All right, 800-956-7266. Deshaun Watson held a conference call today, primarily to talk about the Heisman and his candidacy and what he's looking forward to this coming Saturday night in New York City as he makes the return trip. So let's listen in to the Clemson quarterback as he talks about this opportunity.
Yes, real honor and a pleasure to be able to win the Johnny Unitas Award. Some of the best quarterbacks in the world was able to, win that award. So it's good to be able to bring that to Clemson, and it's really an honor and appreciation.
Deshaun, would you say you're more nervous this year than you were last year?
No, I was more nervous last year just because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I think last year was more nervous. This year is just, I'm just honored to, have my name back in the conversation and be able to go to New York again and see all the Heisman people and the committee and the trustees and just everyone up there that's a part of the whole weekend. So, I'm just going to sit back, put it in God's hands, and see what happens.
Deshaun, are you guys more relaxed now that the season's over, you accomplished that goal of getting to the college football playoff and putting yourselves back in position to win a national championship?
Oh no one's at this program or facilities relaxed. There's never no time to relax. There's always you never can be satisfied and be chill because there's always something that you can work on and get better at. Once you get relaxed and complacent, that's when bad things and failure is going to happen. So, and people was always it was a good relief to be able to get back and have the chance to go back to the national championship. At the same time, we know we still have to put in the work and go earn it. You're always been watched, regardless if who you're playing. Every week, all eyes is on you. No matter what time, when, where you're playing at, everyone is circling the Clemson game. It's really like, but last year was just like, people are still doubting us and still thinking that we're, like the previous teams that kind of slipped up here and there. But this program has been more consistent. So this year is just everyone's all eyes and bringing the A game each and every week, and we understood that, and that's why Coach Sweeney always told us to embrace the target, because people was coming out there each and every week and trying to beat us.
Dabo had a message to the national media on why you should win the Heisman the other night. If you could send a message, and obviously it's too late to vote, if you could send a message out and say, this is why I deserve it, what would that be?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Just honestly, just look over at the overall body of work that I've did over the this past year, and the strength of schedule, the rankings, having a chance to win a national championship, the big time games, the big moments. Every road game was away. Every road game was a night game. Big moments. Each and every week. So. But I understand that it's up to the media and the voters and people like that to pick who they think deserves it. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy to be one of those guys in the mix.
All right, Deshaun Watson. When you think about it, Pro, Clemson has a long, storied, proud football program. They've done everything you can do in college football. They've won the national championship. They've won conference championships. They've had All-Americans. They've had all ACC players, all Southern Conference players when they're in that league. They've been on probation. They've done everything you can do in college football except win the Heisman.
And the guy the trophy is named for used to coach at Clemson.
Yep. And this is their best shot. I mean, let's face it. This is their best shot maybe for a long, long time. You don't know who's going to emerge as a next superstar there, but this is the best shot for Clemson to get that one last piece to complete the puzzle for them in college football. Back in a moment. Back on Sports Talk, and we're brought to you by Palmetto College, bringing USC's quality education to your neighborhood and your home. Visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. That's palmettocollege.sc.edu. If you want to join us, 800-956-7266 is the number. Our poll question on the website, SportsTalkSC.com. Have you voted yet? The question is, what are your bowl plans? I'm going to Phoenix. I'm going to Birmingham. I'm staying home. What are your bowl plans, bro?
I'm staying at home in front of the screen.
77% of the responders say they're staying home.
Bing, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. 12.7% say they're going to Phoenix, and 10% say they're going to Birmingham so far, of over 200 votes. So if you haven't had a chance to address that question on our website, sportstalksc.com, do it. Get to it and get your vote in. All right, to the recruiting report we go now on this Tuesday night. Offensive lineman Jerry Drake Jr. of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, took an official visit to Oklahoma over the weekend for the Bedlam game with Oklahoma State. That was his third official visit following trips to USC, Tennessee. And he said the trip is up there. He liked them all, liked seeing Oklahoma compete. He talked with Will Muschamp Monday afternoon. Muschamp was checking in on him. He remains undecided, not sure if he will take an official this weekend, which means since he's enrolling early, he'll be finished with visits if he doesn't take one this weekend. He said he's still considering Michigan State, UCLA, and Pitt with the three he's visited. He talks to coaches from all the schools every day, so nobody's out recruiting the other. He said if he had to make a decision right now, he could not do it. One of the top cornerbacks nationally in the 2018 class is Verone McKinley III of Plano, Texas. Made a recruiting visit to Clemson the weekend of the USC game with his mom. For a closer look, he'd also visited Clemson back in June. And he is very impressed with what they're doing at Clemson. Likes the place, the fan base, the players, likes what they do with their scheme on defense. He has a Clemson offer, along with Alabama, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas Tech, and others. He has heard from USC, but the Gamecocks have not offered. At this point, McKinley is keeping things open. No early favorites. A list probably coming at the end of the year. No visits planned. He went to Oklahoma last weekend. He also went to Georgia, Texas Tech, LSU, Oklahoma State, and TCU for games this season. Clemson target linebacker Drew Singleton of Paramus, New Jersey, took an official to Michigan State last weekend, his first official visit. He's planning to visit the Tigers in January. This weekend, he's going to Michigan. He missed almost the entire season with a torn ACL, but he never left the side of his teammates. And last Friday night, with his team about to win a state championship with a torn ACL and not able to play, he went back on the field for the final play, though the ball was never snapped. I think that's a great gesture by his coach and his teammates. Former Greenwood defensive end Brandon Henderson of Georgia Military Junior College will take an official visit to Kentucky this weekend. Clemson and USC are showing interest in 2018 receiver Dan Land III of Albany, Georgia. They have not yet offered. He's also drawing interest from Georgia, Beck, Alabama, Vandy, Central Florida, and Central Michigan. He has visited USC and Alabama unofficially. 2018 offensive lineman Jamari Sawyer of Atlanta said he's been hearing from Clemson, and the coaches would like him to come in for a visit and bring his mom. He likes Sweeney. He likes Tony Elliott. Looking forward to finding out more about the academic side of things and building a relationship with the coaches. Sawyer is 6'3", 285. He's got offers from Clemson, USC, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan State, several others. He said he hears more right now from Clemson than USC. And Clemson and USC are interested in 2018 defensive lineman Maurice McIntyre of Jacksonville, North Carolina. He said Clemson invited him in for a game this season. And he said that the ability as a three-technique defensive lineman, his only offer thus far is from Duke. He's also getting interest from North Carolina and from NC State. As far as players here at the North-South game, talking with the father of Brett Burnett, the quarterback from Airport. His father, Kurt Burnett, is his coach, and of course, a former standout receiver. Did he play quarterback as well? I know he played receiver briefly in the NFL with the Jets, and maybe in college, but I don't remember if he played any quarterback. Anyway, Mercer and Western Carolina, two schools that are involved with Brett Burnett at this point, and he's trying to make a decision between those two right now. Today saw the coaching staff from North Greenville out in force, about 4 of them, watching the players. What a great job they did this year. And speaking of that, good news for North Greenville and good news for Newberry and other Division II teams. Maybe not so good news for Coastal Carolina. Well, not Coastal Carolina anymore, I'm sorry. For Presbyterian and Big South teams, because it was announced today that the University of North Alabama is being added to the Big South as an associate member in football starting in 2019. It was announced today as part of UNA's announcement of its transition, to Division I status and entry into the Atlantic Sun Conference. North Alabama will become the Big South's 8th football member in 2019, which will mark the league's largest membership on the gridiron. Wow. All right. Well, get ready, Big South, for some beatdowns from North Alabama. The Lions are coached by Bobby Wallace, 15 years in 2 stints at UNA, and he's the winningest coach in the history of the program with 125 wins, 151 wins overall in his 20 years as a coach. So that's a very strong program, very good coach pro going to the Big South. That will change the mix of that league. A question in the Big South now is how much longer Liberty will remain. Of course, they just hired the guy from Baylor. The old AD at Baylor is going to be their new AD. And with the size of their student enrollment, the money that their facilities, I mean, it's just a matter of time before they try to move up the ladder to D1 football.
Well, I haven't really taken a look at what the landscape is like around them and where they would go in as far as Division I football is concerned, depending on, travel costs, that sort of thing. But then again, if you think about Coastal Shift, they have a lot of plane flights themselves to play in their new conference setting. So it'll be interesting to see what Liberty does. But you're right. They're right on the cusp of being a Division I school. Yeah.
And of course, while he was still the AD there, Jeff Barber, he was in Columbia, in Lexington for the Big South baseball tournament, and I was talking to him, and he pointed out to me, I never thought about this. Liberty has that online curriculum that has apparently thousands of students all over the country. And
all over the world, I think.
All over the world, yeah.
Yeah.
And the money that the school makes off of that helps drive their athletic program. They make millions and millions of dollars off, and that money goes towards. I've only driven by Liberty on the road through Lynchburg when I was heading up to Charlottesville. I've never stopped on the campus, but you can see it and see some of their facilities. And people who've been there say their facilities are unbelievable. We're talking football stadium, baseball facility, the basketball arena, the whole deal. They've got top flight facilities, and they've got this flow of money coming in from that really helps to subsidize what they're doing. Okay, top of the hour break. In hour number 2, we'll take more of your calls. If you'd like to join us, we'll hear from Jimmy Neal, head coach of the North here at the North-South game. Also, the athletic director from Ridgeview High School, Brian Rosefield, is going to join us to talk about the upcoming Bojangles Bash, one of the top December high school basketball tournaments in the state and around the country. It's an outstanding event. We'll find out more about that coming up as well, hour number 2. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Welcome back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Tuesday night. Phil Kornbluth and the Professor, Tom Hayes with you. If you'd like to join us, we're talking Heisman. We're talking Deshaun Watson. We're looking ahead to the Tigers and Ohio State. We're looking ahead to the Gamecocks and South Florida. Also, don't forget Wofford and Youngstown States. Hopefully we'll talk to Coach Mike Ayers later this week to get his thoughts on round 3 in the FCS playoffs. And, of course, we're keeping you informed on happenings here at the beach for the upcoming North-South All-Star Game, the Touchstone Energy North-South All-Star Game. The game itself will kick off at 12:30. Our airtime on our stations around the state, and also there'll be the audio site, SportsTalkSC.com. The airtime will be noon from Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. And at halftime, we'll have the announcement of Mr. Football in South Carolina. We'll be the only place for you to hear that live. I hope that you will. Coach Ted Luckadoo will be along. And Scott Early will be along. The usual crew from the North-South game. We have a great time doing it. It's just fun watching some of the best players in the state play and talking about them and giving them some well-deserved publicity in their last game as a high school player. And for some, it's their last game, period. Many will go on to play collegiately, but some will not. It's their last chance to put on the helmet and the cleats. By the way, I've been reading this story, Pro, in Sports Illustrated about college football or football in general. And what they did in the month of October, I guess it was a couple of their reporters, they went all over the country talking to various people about their views on football, what football means to them, what football means to them financially, how it affects their business, how it affects their lives, and where football is going to be going forward because of the great concerns related to concussions and the various injuries and all that kind of stuff. Interesting that one of their stops was at Presbyterian, because there are a couple of professors at Presbyterian College that teach some courses related to football. And so they went and talked to these guys. They also went over to Clemson, and they were there for, let's see, what game were they there for? I think it was the Louisville game, perhaps. Had a very interesting quote. I tweeted it out last night. They had a very interesting quote from Hunter Renfro in talking with him about football. And he said that, and you got to understand Hunter, a coach's son who was not a heavily recruited or a heavily publicized recruit from the standpoint of the star system coming out of high school. And I thought he made an excellent point. He said that he hates the camps, and he hates he used the word rivals, but he was, I think, referring to all the combines that they have in the summer where the players go and get graded by these guys, and that's what they live with. They live with that grade now. Once they see you in these combines and these camps and they decide that you're a 3-star or you're a 4-star or you're a 5-star, I mean, there's a little bit of an adjustment during a season, after a season, but by and large, you are what they give you there in those camps. And if you don't show up, then, you know, they really do downgrade you. But he said he hates those camps because it makes the players think about themselves first and not the team. And he said, in his opinion, when these guys come to a college football team, they're thinking more about themselves than the team itself. And they kind of have to be broken from that, which I found that to be a very interesting take on his part about that aspect of the football game.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think probably you want to reach a happy medium because you got to have some alpha dogs on your team in order to win. And some of those guys do think they're the best thing walking on the field. And while while you want to break that into a team concept, the energy that exudes from that feeling also is what you need on a football team. So I can understand that, but that's why we talk about players being able to mature. Deshaun Watson always walks on the field with an arrogance that he's the best thing on that field, but he's learned through maturity and working with teammates to channel that into a team concept. And if you have a bunch of those guys who can do that, then you got a championship level team.
Yeah, no question about it. 800-956-7266 is our number. I'm seeing where the Jets released C.J. Spiller today. Boy, the Jets are pitiful. The Jets are just pitiful. He got a carry or two last night. And, boy, C.J. Spiller's professional career has certainly spiraled downward. And we'll see if he lands somewhere else. Also, I see here former Gamecock defensive end Eric Norwood, who's been in the Canadian Football League. He's going to retire at age 28. So tremendous player at South Carolina and had a nice professional career as well.
And, of course, he was a guy that, I guess through technique, and he had that strange build that he was stocky and yet has to use them to get around offensive linemen. And I guess he led South Carolina as far as sacks are concerned. So, he was an interesting type player. And Corn, I forgot to mention this, and we were talking about the Heisman Trophy, and what a sad story in Colorado with former Heisman Trophy winner Rashaan Salam from 1994, found dead in a parking lot near a park in Boulder, about 2 miles from Folsom Field. They don't think it's foul play. He was, I guess, sitting in his car or whatever, and they have to have an autopsy. But dead at only 42 years of age.
That is sad news. A couple of other things I wanted to pass along to you from the Bovada sports book out in Las Vegas. Alabama to win the national championship is now 5-12. Okay, I don't really understand gambling odds like this. Maybe Jarmart does, maybe you do, Pro, but when the first number is a lot smaller than the second number, I guess that means you're an overwhelming favorite. To bet on them, you don't stand to make a whole lot of money.
That is correct. They're a prohibitive favorite. But, it's interestingly enough, Corn, I've seen Alabama enough to know that they start off slow. They probe. And I'm not so certain if a team, even if it's Washington, whoever it is, maybe it's Clemson in the championship game, gets a lead on these guys and don't turn the football over, that Jalen Hurts somehow doesn't turn into a freshman pumpkin all of a sudden and start to make mistakes. He did that against Auburn. Threw 2 or 3 interceptions early in the football game, but Alabama is so strong defensively and their offensive line protects him so well, he was able to recover. But as I said before, people say Alabama's the best team. Well, the team that plays them only has to be the best team for that 60 minutes they're on the field. Not all the time.
Alabama's defense is so good at scoring. I'm a little surprised that the SEC coaches didn't put some of Alabama's defensive players on the All-SEC offensive team, because it's ridiculous how many touchdowns as a group they scored. But before Clemson can worry about Alabama, they really this Ohio State team, and I know that look, they're in the Final Four. It is what it is. Maybe they shouldn't have been there because they didn't even have to play for their league championship. But gosh, their statistics are unbelievable. I mean, defensively, they're only giving up 14 points a game and averaging over 40 points a game. So this is going to be a very, very and Clemson's the underdog. Yeah, I think it's the first time all year that Clemson has been an underdog. And Tigers are 6-7 as favorites this year. So you know what Vegas is thinking about the matchup. We'll be right back.
to the 26-yard line.
Well, that was the biggest cheer of the night as we got a couple idiots running out on the field right now, taking their shirts off, running all over the place. And the last person I would want to run into is a New Jersey.
Did you see
Just
that
like
tackle?
that.
Oh, and the other guy's knocked down.
They're actually hitting harder than the Jets defense. I'll tell you, that one kid may be just absolutely knocked out on the 26-yard line, Kevin. That was just a unbelievable hit by a New Jersey State trooper who came in right in behind him. Don't be messing with the state troopers, man. I'm telling you.
Sports Talk on a Tuesday night. Coming up, some comments from Jimmy Neal, head football coach of the North team here at the North-South All-Star football game, the Touchstone Energy Bowl, the game coming up on Saturday. 2 more practices in the books today, and we'll have 2 more practices tomorrow and 2 more on Thursday, and then a workout on Friday, and then the guys should be ready to rock and roll for you on Saturday afternoon at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. And South Carolina Electric Cooperative, the Touchstone people want to remind you that you can beat the peak and save on your energy bill. Just visit EnergySmartSC.org/beatthepeak to learn how. Well, right now, Jimmy Neal and his guys are trying to figure out how to beat the South. South, if you talk to the people who are there, the experts, the coaches who've gone back and forth, they tell me they think the South has the more talented team this year. And certainly the South's got some very good players. The North has some very good players as well. And this afternoon, after the North wrapped up, it was a little bit after 5 o'clock, the wind was blowing. The cooler weather was moving in. I had a chance to catch up with Jimmy Neal. And one thing I asked him about was just watching his team. It seemed like his guys had a lot of camaraderie, chemistry, and a lot of spirit to them. All right, Coach, 2 days in the books for you. I tell you what, one thing I noticed about your guys today, you got a spirited group.
Yeah, they're a good group. They're a lot of fun. They've enjoyed it, you know. I mean, golly, they've been focused and locked in, and they've enjoyed being here. and the coaches have enjoyed them, and the escorts have been wonderful, and they've talked about what great guys these are, and they are great guys. It's fun to coach, fun to be around.
What kind of things have you implemented on offense? I know the defense is pretty basic, but what kind of things are you trying to do on offense?
A lot of RPOs, you know what I mean, and get the ball down the field, throw it around, you know what I mean, have a little fun in this game.
Yeah. How do you like your quarterbacks?
Oh, well, they're pretty good quarterbacks, really good. You know, of course, Devin was ours, you know, at Cameron High and had a, great year. And then Brett Burnett, you know what I mean, and Kirk's boy, every guys understand where the ball's got to go.
You had a heck of a throwing and receiving combination, and you got that here. So, I mean, are we going to see a lot of that combination in the ballgame?
Well, it depends on what they do on defense as far as how they do it. You know, this is a decision-making thing by the quarterback, and he throws it where they're supposed to be. So I'm sure he'll get a few catches.
What about some of the things that you're trying to teach the guys in terms of what you did at Camden and what some of your coaches have done? Are there some new things you're trying to bring to the game?
Not really, no. I tell you, these guys were extremely well coached. You know, things you're concerned about, defensive front, squeezing blocks, going down the line, not getting upfield. They all do that so well. So they were very well coached when we got them. So we're just trying to get them all heading in our same direction.
Were you hurt badly by having to replace some guys because of injuries or guys that are still playing in the state playoffs?
Oh, that hurt a little bit, but, and it was just more of a problem as far as time and stuff like that. But, no, I don't think that was a problem at all. I think we've got some really good subs. I'm really excited about the alternates, rather. And so that's gone very well.
For you, you've been coaching a long, long time, both in college and in high school, and you, of course, are a native of South Carolina. To be in this game as a head coach, what's it mean for you at this stage of your career?
I don't know. It's fun. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the heck out of it, and that's all I can say, I guess. That's about it. It's been a lot of fun. It's not about me. It's about these guys. So this is a super time.
A lot of work for you?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of work, but, I don't have to worry about who's getting on the buses and things like that. I don't have to worry about roll call and that scores do such a super job. We just kind of hang in there and go.
What do you hear about the South?
I hear they're very big, and very talented. So hopefully we can hang in there with them.
Coach, thanks very much.
Thank you, Phil, and go north.
For the holidays. Go north for the holidays. Coach Jimmy Neal, a little bit fired up there. What a terrific guy he is and a quality coach, and Camden native, and went to Furman and coached at Furman, and been back at his alma mater for a lot of years, doing a heck of a job. And they do have a quality passer-receiver combination, one of the best in the state from this past season. Devin Beckley's the quarterback, 6'3", 190 pounds, and the wide receiver is JoJo Watson, 5'11", 165. They teamed up a lot. I want to say Watson had in the and I'll have the full stats later on, but maybe 80, 90 catches this year. They had a very potent offense, and they did like to throw the ball quite a bit. One guy that stands out to me, Pro, and you would like him if you saw him, and that is, I've got to find him here on my sheet. Where are you? Oh, there you are. That's not him. There's a little guy. He's about 5'6", and he stands out because he's so small. You got all these big people around you, and then you got this little guy. He's a little running back, and he, I imagine he gets behind those big offensive linemen. He gets down low, and he is hard to find. And for some reason, I can't locate him right now. But that's something to look forward to in the game on Saturday. Unless I'm looking at the let's see, maybe was he on the south side? Little small guy. Yeah, here he is. Okay. Larence Givens from St. John's. He's actually on the South team. Larence Givens. Where's number 4? They list him at 5'7", but I think he's more like 5'4", 5'5". And you get behind some of those big offensive linemen. The South has got some size on the offensive line. The biggest guy is the dude from, let's see here. From Swansea, Jarrett Sandy, 6'3", 340. And he's all the 340, I can tell you that. They got a 265-pounder, Elliott Campbell, 272-pounder, and Peyton Engelgang. They got some good size on that offense, 260. That's just from the South team. They have looked good in practice as well. they throw it, and they're two quarterbacks, Peyton Derrick from Conway and Tyrese Nick from Strom Thurmond. People really like both of them. Talking to some coaches, they really like the Tyrese Nick kid from Strom Thurmond, coached by Antoine Hillary. Throws a nice ball, very elusive, wears number 2. So keep an eye out for him, the game on Saturday. So we'll have more. Tomorrow night we'll hear from Keith Richardson, the longtime executive director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association. A very successful, longtime coach at, I should say, South Carolina Football Coaches Association. Don't want to take the job away from Shell Dula, who oversees the Athletic Coaches Association, all the coaches. But, of course, Coach Richardson, longtime coach at Clinton High School Pro, still looks like he could get out there and ride a sled and to blow the whistle and get something out of a group of guys. We had a nice conversation. We'll play it for you tomorrow night. We got a little philosophical about football and the future of football and what he thinks it's going to be like in 50 years. Does he think there'll be football in 50 years? I mean, there's some people who believe it will eventually go away as there are these injuries and the concerns over concussions and head injuries and things of that nature. There could be a strong movement out there to try to kill it. What was that? Teddy Roosevelt back in the early 1900s tried to get rid of football?
Well, yeah, but back then, guys didn't wear helmets. So you had guys biting ears and doing all kinds of things with their teeth. So,
yeah, if my memory serves me right, his efforts to eliminate football directly led to the creation of the NCAA, which was created to, come up with rules and governments of football to make it a safer sport, if I'm correct about that.
It might be. Obviously, you would think that some of the first games started in football and it started in the brawls. And then, of course, the helmet. And then after that, face guard to protect the teeth, the mouth. And then, of course, the pads. But I think probably those who invented football did not know that we're going to have guys who are so big, who could run so fast. And that's the difficult chore right now, Corn, is finding the right equipment and the right rules to protect players from themselves. Because I just think with the workouts they do, how big and fast they are, nobody knew the human being could get this big and that fast.
Well, I mean, do you think across the board we have to start thinking along the lines of backing off some of that and maybe not making these athletes so big, fast, and strong? If everybody would back off a little bit, maybe that would ease up on some of that stuff. We'll be right back. Back with you, Lutz, on this Tuesday night. Professor Tom Hayes, and coming up in just a moment, I'm going to talk about the upcoming Bojangles Bash here in the Columbia area, always a big event, and Sports Talk presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. I imagine that good chickens eat soy, which makes for good chickens, and good chickens make for good Bojangles chicken, and Bojangles makes for an excellent holiday basketball tournament, the Bojangles Bash at Ridgeview High School, and athletics director Brian Rosefield is joining us now. How'd you like that lead in?
I'm going to tell you, that's why they pay you the big bucks, Phil. That was fantastic. I couldn't have done that better myself. Unbelievable. Fantastic.
Of course, I don't know that chicken eats soy, but I just kind of made that up on the run. But regardless, we know that Bojangles makes great chicken, do they not?
They do. It's unbelievable. I had my first of many meals by Bojangles today for lunch, and I will be eating it for the rest of the week. And obviously, I've got a body by Bojangles still, so I'll be eating the rest of my life. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, a lot of us do. That's for sure. Well, the Bash, it gets bigger and better every year. Just looking at some of the talking points here about the event, and you have got some marquee high school players coming into your place.
We do, and we're just extremely excited about year 4 of the event, Bill, and it's guys like you that help us spread the word about all the great things that we're doing at the Bojangles Bash, and just can't say enough great things about Bojangles in general. Just the support that they put behind the event. It's about the kids, the coaches, and the fans. So we're very transparent about that. And you mentioned that we've got 15 games in 3 days, 20 teams coming from around the Eastern Seaboard as we continue to expand our footprint. It's just, I get chills thinking about it, Phil. I mean, it's amazing to see how it's grown in year 4, and just I can't wait to get it started on Thursday night.
Yeah, is this a good date for you? I mean, we know that there's a lot of high school holiday tournaments around the Christmas holiday. Of course, you know, you've got the one in Columbia over at Richland Northeast, got the one at the beach as well, and others all around the country. But this date a little early, a good date for this event for you guys?
We think it's a great date, and it's a great way to tip off basketball in South Carolina. You know, and honestly, the last 2 years with football and the fall sports getting pushed back because of weather events, it makes it a little bit trickier. But to be honest with you, we love being a part of the basketball culture in South Carolina. And you mentioned a couple of great events around the state, and we feel like we play our role as well. And that's the thing about our event, is that we've got great tournaments around the state. Ours is a showcase. We can tell fans, you know, for example, show up on Thursday night, you're going to see Huntington Prep and Great Collegiate tip off at 7:30. You don't have to worry about brackets or anything like that, but we really do believe, and like I said, with the sport of Bojangles and everything, it's just it really is a great way to start off the high school basketball season. And then obviously, man, I'm a basketball guy too, and just seeing all the great things that Frank Martin is doing in South Carolina. So getting some momentum now on the men's side, we've had it on the women's side of South Carolina, and just, you know, South Carolina is becoming more and more of a basketball state. That excites us. It really does.
Absolutely. Tell us about some of the teams you got coming in. You mentioned 20 teams, many of them highly regarded with major college talent. But among the top ones at the top of the list, who would you cite?
You know, right now, USA Today, number 15 in the country is Great Collegiate. We got them on Thursday night, like I mentioned, against Huntington Prep, who is a perennial power in the national basketball sphere. I'm just throwing out all sorts of puns tonight, Phil. I really don't mean to be doing that. Yeah. Anyway, so that Thursday night Huntington and Gray matchup is going to be fantastic. But we're really excited. You mentioned some of the great players that we have. We have 5 of the top 100 across a lot of these graduation years, and really 5 of the top 25 with Jalik Felton, Jawan Gary, Christian Brown, Joey Baker, Keldon Johnson on that aforementioned Huntington Prep team. But, you know, I will talk about our Ridgeview guys, preseason number 7. We were over in Florence earlier today talking about West Florence, preseason number 5 in the state. 22 Feet Academy coming down from the upstate again, bringing another stacked team. And I really don't, like I said, 20 teams is just, and all of them, we branded ourselves as a national elite high school basketball showcase. So it's 20 really, really, really good basketball teams coming to Ridgeview High School starting this Thursday.
Boy, it sounds like it. Now, what's the ticket situation? Do you have some still available? I imagine they're going quickly, and you only have so much room in that gym.
That's right. We've got one of those gyms that puts fans right on top of the action. It's a 1,500 seat gym. We still do have tickets, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Bill. We sold out 2 of the 3 nights last year. We really fully expect to sell out all 3 nights this coming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But tickets are on sale right now. They're for sale in the main office at Ridgeview between 8 and 4. Bojangle'sBash.com has all of the information they need to know about general admission tickets, which are $10 a day. We have the Bojangles VIP hospitality room, the reserved porchside seats, which we have a very, very, very few of those left. But yeah, we still have some tickets available. We sold a bunch. A lot of our front office crew running around like crazy up front, but they've done a great job in taking care of folks as they come in and get their tickets.
All right, very good. And does this event attract people from outside the Midlands, other parts of the state, other states? And also, do you find a bunch of the high school basketball / college basketball recruiting analysts types who want to come in and sit along the floor and get a close look at these guys? Are you drawing those people as well?
We are. I think one of the greatest judges of that is that I'm having to expand Media Row this year. So we had about 12 seats for Media Row last year. We have a whole media accreditation process that we follow on our website again at Bojangle'sBash.com. But I think our list is up to about 25 or 26, and we have. And just speaking of media folks, and like to talk about the recruiting guys as well, coming from Atlanta, coming out of North Carolina, coming from the beach. So that footprint has expanded as well. And we're so active on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anything at Bojangles Bash, that we get hit up all the time. I actually had I won't name him, but a media guy send us a direct message on Twitter like, hey, can I get on the list? Can I get some credentials? Like, yeah, that's fine. We'll take care of you. So, but the word is really spreads about, it's about that atmosphere. It's about the environment that we create in our gym at Ridgeview. And yes, so that word spreads, and obviously bringing in 5 of the top 100 and all these 20 teams that folks want to come and write about them and talk about them and put some stars next to them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, I tell you what, you've already had a terrific start to the athletic year. Your football team was outstanding this year and did a lot of great things, and your basketball team's picking right up on it with this, and just things are going well for you over there right now.
Oh, it's unbelievable. We've got so many great people, but you mentioned the football, Perry Parks. I mean, I cannot tell you, we could have a whole segment if you had me back on a whole show to talk about all the great things that he's done for Ridgeview, but he's just one example of what we have going on at Ridgeview. It's really is exciting times, and with the backdrop of this event to be able to showcase Ridgeview and all of our magnet programs and scholars academies and everything that's going on great at Ridgeview. It's just a way to be able to highlight that, but you're right. It's just I'm a lucky man. This is my second year in this role as an AD, and I'd say I've got a lot of people around me that make me look really good.
Well, listen, best of luck to you. It's going to be a great event, and if people want to see some high-level high school basketball from not just in the Midlands, around the country, then Ridgeview High is the place to be. And you can go to the Ridgeview website, and you also mentioned the Bojangles Bash website as well, correct?
That's right. Bojangle'sBash.com is the best. We've got our everything linked from RidgeviewSports.com, but for this event right now, Bojangle'sBash.com is the best way to find out everything that they need to know about this Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
All right, Coach. Hey, thank you so much for the visit. Good luck. Look forward to following what's happening over at Ridgeview High School. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, Phil.
Thank you. Brian Rosefield from over at Ridgeview High School in Northeast Columbia. The upcoming Bojangles Bash should be a lot of for you basketball types out there who love to watch any level of basketball, high school, college, or professional basketball. Speaking of, Pro, Celtics lost a heartbreaker last night. Did you see how we lost?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, down a point at Houston, down a point, got the ball for the last shot. Al Horford gets free to lay it up off the right side and lays it off the backboard, and it rolled off the rim.
Oh, no.
And that was that. Had a chance to win and did not get it down. We'll be right back. Back on Sports Talk, we're in Myrtle Beach for the annual Touchstone Energy North-South All-Star Football Game. Don't forget, at halftime, the naming of Mr. Football presented by your South Carolina Electric Cooperative. And remember, you can beat the peak and save on your energy bill. Visit EnergySmartSC.org/beatthepeak to learn how. We've got some college basketball taking place tonight involving some state teams. Pro has been running down some of the scores. I saw where Furman's losing to Liberty at halftime, 27-20. What else do you have, Pro? Anything else you've located so far?
Yeah, Winthrop has doubled up Greensboro early in the second half. It's 72-36. Winthrop over Greensboro. In Knoxville, it's at halftime, Tennessee 40, Presbyterian 28. And let's see, I think we got one other lopsided score here in the ACC where Miami is leading South Carolina State with about 30 seconds to go in the half, 42-14. So some really rough scores going on around college basketball involving state teams.
Yeah, did you say what'd you say about Winthrop and Greensboro? How's that stand?
72-36. Winthrop early in the second half. They've doubled them up.
You said Greensboro's up 72-36?
Oh, no, Winthrop is.
Winthrop, okay, yeah, I missed that part. Yeah, okay. I was just going to say, teams around our state off to a pretty good start. Winthrop would be one. Citadel is off to a good start. Upstate looks much improved this year.
Winthrop scored 54 points in the first half.
Wow. Yeah, there. Winthrop is a very strong contender to win the Big South and get back to the NCAA tournament this year. Of course, South Carolina and Clemson, they are in the exam break. Clemson doesn't play again until Saturday. They'll play Mercer at 4 o'clock, and South Carolina is not back in action until the 12th. They play Seton Hall up in New York, 9 o'clock on December 12th. The Gamecocks at 8-0. Interestingly, the Gamecocks football team getting ready for South Florida on December 29th in Birmingham. The men will play at South Florida on December 17th. So the USC men's basketball team will also have to deal with the Bulls. And in talking about the Bulls, now we'll have to wait and see if Willie Taggart is still the coach there. They could be going through a coaching change because there are reports that Willie Taggart could be the next coach at Oregon. But what he is leaving behind, if he does leave, is a very good offensive team. Now, they didn't play the strongest of schedules, but they beat Northern Illinois, which is a highly regarded mid-major program. They won at Syracuse, scored 45 points. They put 35 points on Florida State. Remember, they jumped out early on Florida State in that game. They were up 14-0. Scored 35 points, still lost by 20. Won at Cincinnati, scored 38 on East Carolina. Their only other loss was to Temple, and we saw how good Temple turned out to be, and their coach is gone. Scored 30 points. That's the fewest points they've scored all season, 30 against Temple. And the Gamecocks, let's see now, scored more than 30 points exactly one time this year against Western Carolina? Yeah. Am I right about that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fewest that they – Navy, 52-45, scored 49 at Memphis, 35 at SMU. They played a lot of close games. They only beat SMU by a touchdown. They only beat Memphis by a touchdown. They only beat Navy by a touchdown. They have had some close calls. Their last game, they beat Central Florida 48-31. So this is a team that can score some points. They are averaging 43.6 points per game. They average 292 rushing yards per game, and they average 222 passing yards per game. So their total offense average is 515 yards per game. The way the Gamecock offense has gone the last 2 years, and now the Gamecocks had, under Dylan Thompson, they could put some points on the board and they could roll up some yardage. They just couldn't stop anybody. That's why they didn't have a better record. Should have had a much better record, but they couldn't stop anybody. But since then, the Gamecock offense has just been in a woeful, woeful way. And Gamecock fans have to be wondering, when are we going to enjoy an offense that averages 500 yards and 35-plus points per game? Is that ever going to be in South Carolina's future?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like I said earlier, I think they've got some of the skilled people, but that offensive line's got to come a long way before they're dynamic.
Well, the interesting thing is, obviously, is I'm not so certain. You got to watch what your team is and what their DNA is. And I think even Spurrier, once he got it rolling, knew what South Carolina's DNA was. And that was, we're going to score points when we can, but that's not our DNA. South Carolina's DNA is running it down your throat, keeping away from you so you never get an offensive rhythm. And if we score a lot of points along the way, so be it. But that's not going to be our DNA. And for instance, looking at this game with South Florida, if you look at their defense, Muschamp has to be sitting there saying they got to get a big dose of Rico Dowdle. I mean, we're just going to grind on these guys. And with that high-octane offense, let them stand on the sideline. The interesting thing is when you look at teams it's just like Clemson. Notice that Clemson has some of their problems when other teams move the football, because when Deshaun Watson is on the sideline, that team is not getting a rhythm. But if Clemson gets you 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and they're back on the field, they get a rhythm. It's almost like playing basketball. And so teams like that, and South Florida is one, you got to take away their rhythm by keeping the football away from them.
Well, absolutely. But, South Florida possesses the one item that has given South Carolina's defense fits in recent years, and that is a mobile quarterback. Quentin Flowers has rushed for 1,425 yards and 15 touchdowns. He averages 8 yards a carry. Why wouldn't you just let him run every time? You get a first down every second play. They have another 1,000-yard rusher in Marlon Mack, who averages 7 yards a carry. 1,130 to that. Flowers is completing over 61% of his passes, 2,540 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. They're leading 60 catches. Then it drops off considerably. Catches. And something else now, their defense, like a lot of these high-powered offensive teams, their defensive team is not all that great. They give up 31 points per game, but boy, they've got 13 interceptions on defense, which is pretty good. And you can see why South Florida is favored to beat South Carolina. They've just got some impressive numbers and some overall extremely good talent. So if South Carolina manages to win this game, and maybe the weather will work in their factor. Well, I don't know if I should say that, because obviously South Florida can run the ball, likes to run the ball, so maybe it won't affect their passing game because they can run it so well. But if South Carolina can manage to pull out a victory in this bowl game, this would be a nice win. This would be a nice upset win over a top 25 ranked team that has some quality players.
Yeah, it would be. And of course, when you see a guy with a lot of passing yards and few interceptions, that tells me a lot of his passing is elongated handoffs. The dump pass, the quick, we want yak yards after the catch. And then once you try to play those receivers, then they hit you with the draw or quarterback draw right up the middle. And that's how they get a lot of their rushing yards from scrimmage. So it'll be interesting. As I said before, it's like playing basketball on the gridiron.
Yeah. Okay, that is going to do it. Enjoyed it tonight. Hope you did as well. Tomorrow night, more from here at the North-South game. We'll talk more about Deshaun Watson and the Heisman as that day comes closer, and more about the upcoming bowl games and more basketball talk as well. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, Jarmart. Thanks to all of you. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.